This is We the Sales Engineers Podcast, show 34.
Welcome to We the SEs podcast, the show for sales engineers by sales engineers with your host, Ramsey Majaba. As a teenager, Ramsey won his town's tennis championship, but now he's lucky if he actually hits the ball.
Hello, SE Nation, and welcome back to another podcast episode. This is show 34. All the show notes can be found at wethesalesengineers.com/show 34. Thank you guys for sticking with me. We've had 34 shows, which is pretty awesome. I'm gonna keep cranking them out on a weekly basis. And this has been fun. And today's guest, like pretty much all my other guests, has a great story to tell. But before we get in there and I introduce him, I just have a quick tip. The way I like to listen to my podcasts is at 1.5 speeds or 1.5 speed. And that helps me consume more and more podcasts, especially when I drive. And I believe every single podcast software that you have on your phone, which, by the way, I use Podcast Addict. I'm not affiliated, but I like that software. You can put it to 1.5 speed and listen to it. It's still very understandable. It doesn't make the voice squeaky like in the old days where you put in the VCR and fast forward and it'll be... It's actually very audible and you can hear everything. Another quick tip is that I wrote a blog post last week. It's about resources for sales engineers because we don't have much out there. I'll put the link to that blog post in the show notes and you guys can go in and check. But as a brief, Master in Technical Sales will be one. Yeah, there's a website for that. So John Care. There's a bunch of other resources out there. So check it out. So today's guest is Juppreet Bath. He's been a sales engineer for 7 years, and he didn't get into sales engineering the way most people do. And I'll let him explain that going forward. We had a great discussion today. We talked about how his outlook has changed since he started being a sales engineer, and the difference between commodities sale and solution sales. And we'll explain that a little bit more in the podcast. So without further ado, here's Jappreet. Good morning, Jappreet.
Good morning, Ramsey.
Did I just say that wrong again?
No, I
Jappreet.
think you said it right. Yeah, Jappreet, yeah.
Jappreet, okay. All right, awesome.
Yeah.
I said it right.
Yeah.
Good morning, Jappreet.
Good morning, Ramsey.
How are you doing today?
I'm good, just starting my day as I wanted to be, so
Awesome.
that's pretty good, yeah.
Well, welcome to the show. Thank you for wanting to do this. I know you were hesitant at first, but you decided that you can actually provide value, which I find everybody can. So thank you for coming on. And go ahead.
No, thank you for reaching out and inviting me.
It is my pleasure. So you have kind of a unique case from other SEs that I know, in the sense that you got to the NSE job straight out of school.
That is correct, yeah.
So do you mind talking a little bit about it and like maybe a little bit of your history, where you are now, what you do?
Yeah, so right now, currently, I'm a senior SE at a wire data analytics company, ExtraHop. So what ExtraHop does, it basically take a copy of the wire data and run analytics on it. So it can bring value to NetOps teams to help them troubleshoot different things, and SecOps team to help them investigate issues or even surface different bad actors in the environment. So what are the data that we collect, or the metadata that we collect, the dimensions? We apply machine learning on it, so we easily surface different things to the users, to the SecOps team. For example, if somebody's trying to exfiltrate data using DNS, at the same time we'll surface, for NetOps teams, if DNS is having more errors than the usual, what looks normal in the network.
And
so that's what we do, yeah.
So is that what is considered today, like the term big data?
It's different. So big data is, getting the data. It's different in a way. So big data is, again, this is my definition, right? So big data is having a ton of data, and then you decide what to do with it, right? So collecting data from wherever you can, which makes sense, and then running algorithms on it to help you with the maybe making some business decisions, and or making some other decisions. In our case, for example, we do and when we do analytics, we extract around 4,500 different things from the wire data in the real time. So some people will use it to actually, as I was saying, NetOps and SecOps team, but even some customers will use it to make some business decisions, because we can extract anything from the wire, and they will have the intelligence to actually, even to predict habits of their customers.
And basically, what you do is just software at this point. There is no hardware that you sell. Is that
So
correct?
so what we do is um, we make software and software only solution. But to make it easy for customers, we do have our own appliances that we put it on the, just off the shelf appliances from Dell or whatever, and then we put our software on top of it, test it, and then we give it to customers. So we can scale from this way. We can scale from 1 gig to 100 gig at the line rate without any issues.
Okay. Going back to you getting a job straight out of school as an SE, did you know when we mean school, are we talking about college, university? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, so what I was doing, I was at Sheridan College in Oakville. We were studying telecommunication technology there. Now it's called Internet Communication. So this particular program was focused on networking. So learning, we spend one full course on PGP, OSPF. Like not learning how to configure stuff, but actually learning the protocol and protocol behavior itself. So it doesn't matter what the vendor is it Juniper, Alcatel, Cisco. It doesn't matter. If you know the technology, if you know how things works and how things should behave, then you can configure anything or work with anything, right? That's what it was focused on. It was a lot of fun. Stayed up a lot of sleepless nights to finish labs and stuff, so it was a lot of fun. And at the same time, it was a co-op program, so I was doing a co-op at BlackBerry. I did 3 terms co-op at BlackBerry, and that's how we can connect the dots backward to how I became SE.
So basically, but let's take a second. BlackBerry is what, like when it was RIM or when it's BlackBerry?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was around 2010. It was a RIM back then.
Okay.
So what my role was there was started as a Wi-Fi certification tester, so getting Wi-Fi lines certifications and all that. So we're working on that, writing uh, some automation, writing some, doing some testing on the devices themselves.
And you became an SE because you worked with the sales engineers there, or were you a customer of your former, like the company you ended up getting the job straight out of university?
So, so yeah, it was a funny story. So one of the guys who were at that company was a RSM in that company. He reached out to one of the guys in BlackBerry to that if he's interested to being an SE, and he was not interested at that moment. So he's forwarded that position to our professor. So I applied, and then at the same time, because I was working on Wi-Fi, I think it helped because at the same time that company that I worked for, they bought a Wi-Fi company. So they probably were thinking, okay, we need a junior SE, and also, he has some Wi-Fi experience as well. So it might it worked out well for me.
Could you define what RSM is?
So for me, RSM is a partner. Like you see a cop, and there are two people in the car. That's what RSM is to me. So you need to make sure you're well aligned with him. Before going into meeting, you strategize and decide how the meeting's gonna go. What are the or how you guys going to approach different things. So that's what to me that's what RSM is. A very close partner that you work with to help customers.
And RSM means regional sales manager.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's okay, but it's good. So your partners. A lot of people think that SEs indirectly report to the RSM. Whenever I talk to someone, and like I was getting a new RSM, and they said, "Oh, so you're getting a new boss?" I'm like, not really. I'm getting a new partner. But yeah, that's a good analogy. All right. And your title out of university was junior sales engineer, you mentioned.
Yes. So system engineer one or junior sales engineer. Yes.
All right. The reason I'm asking is a lot of people ask me how they can get a job out of university or get a job as an SE. And generally speaking, out of university is not really the option, or I don't see a lot of SEs getting that job out of university. Did you know what an SE was beforehand, before getting the job?
So a little bit, so I was not entirely sure how my job profile will look like. And, it was more for me at that point. I looked at their portfolio of what the solutions they had. And because I came from testing background, so it looks really exciting to me. So I took the job, and then and even at the beginning, I was because talking about some SEs thinking that uh, RSM is their manager because it's a regional sales manager. So one of the first things, so he my RSM is still a good friend, and because he was a SE before, so he's a good mentor. He was a good mentor to me as well. So one of the first thing I asked him is like, so you are my manager? He's like, no. so, because the reason I'm telling you this is I didn't had a lot of grip on, what exactly who am I reporting to, who I will work together, and all of those things. But I just got in, it looked interesting from the technology perspective, that what I can learn here and grow myself, and so I got in. Yeah.
So here's a funny story about, at least I think it's funny, about my experience. When I first started interviewing for an SE job, I didn't know what the NSE was. All I know is he worked with customers, he did demos, right? And in the interview, they started asking me what would you do if the RSM did this or the RSM did that, and I had no idea what an RSM was. It was fairly awkward answering that question with no idea what I'm talking about, because what is an RSM? I don't know what you're talking. Can you explain to me what an RSM is? And I didn't feel comfortable asking that question in an interview, so still got the job, which is awkward.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. You didn't have to, but I appreciate it. Anyways, I'll pay you later. So you've been doing this for what, like 7, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years? I don't know why I'm counting.
Yeah, more than 7 years now. Okay. Yes.
And you started off as a junior SE, and now you're a senior SE.
Yes.
Has your outlook on the position changed in those 7 years?
It's a good question. So, what I think is what changes as a when you grow in this role, like the supporting the customer and working with the customer, that part stays the same. What really changes is you, because you become more mature. How do you handle customer meeting? How you lead customer meeting, I will say, right? So that's where it changed. And also, of course, with your experience and the learning that you get over the years, it also changed your you know knowledge or experience or grip around the technology as well. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Can you give me examples of mistakes that you've done early on in your career that you realized and fixed and changed? I know it seems like an interview question, but this is an interview.
this, I've done a lot of mistakes when I started, and that's one of the things that I think. I'll give you an example, but one of the things I think is having a good people to work with. It's a huge important thing. Because I'll tell you one example. So early on, I went to help a customer update their one of their equipment, and then I drove 2 hours, went there, did an upgrade, and then I left. So I didn't double check that if the upgrade was working properly or not. So I was like, okay, to the upgrade, this is good, and I left. And and after that, they emailed my RSM saying, you know, the guy you sent, he didn't double check anything, and he just left. So at that point, that was the point where my RSM knew that I was new, and he understood that I was new. So I jumped on a WebEx with them and fixed the issue, but he didn't make a big deal about it. So he was supportive. He said, "Yeah, no problem. That's how you learn, and that's how you understand what is need to be done." So having that right person working with you, I think is huge. Of course, you will do a lot of mistakes. You will go through a lot of stuff, right? I mean, that's just part of the game. Even today, right? I do a lot of mistakes, for sure.
So you did both pre-sales and post-sales as part of your job, from what I just understood from you. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
So are there any mistakes, and you don't have to give me any example, but like for soft skills, for example, because a lot of the focus of this podcast is about soft skills, like presentations or just having a conversation with a customer. Have you've probably gotten better over the last 7 years, right? How did you figure out if you're doing something wrong early on and fix it?
So yeah, uh, what I started doing when I started, was always, I had a mindset that I need to learn. I still have that mindset. I enjoy that. So what I started doing when I was new is started looking up to some senior SE, how they talk, how they do the presentation, or how they work with the customer. That helped me a lot. I'll give you an example, not about a meeting, but a customer emailed me about asking about something specific, and I was not sure. And I started looking at how to help customer in that for answer those questions, right? But I did not said responded to customer in the meantime that I'm looking into it. So after 2 days, one of the senior SEs, I noticed that he does that all the time. If he doesn't have, because we as an SEs, we don't have all the answers. So if he doesn't has all the answers, so what he will say is quick response, say, hey, let me double check this, and I will get back to you soon. So that particular thing, that's one example that I actually learned, and I now I do that all the time, because I think as a customer, they want to know that you got they got your attention, and you are going to look into it. So that's one example that I usually, even still, I look up to some of the really good SEs, and I will pick up some of the good things that they are doing, which makes sense, and I will actually start using that.
About that specific example, I just wrote a blog post about that, specifically that sending an email and saying, hey, I got your email, I'm in meetings, or whatever it is the case, I will get back to you by this day. Is that fair? Or something like that. And you just pretty much said that, and that's great to hear. At least I know I'm not crazy. So those other SEs, are you shadowing them? Are they including you on emails? That's how you noticed. How did you figure out what the other SE is doing?
So in the beginning, I started shadowing them. By the SEs were in the overlay team, so whatever the way they were running the meetings, it was a really good experience for me to learn from there. And so that's how interacted with them. And also, even today, if I'm not sure about something, if I'm working on a project, I'm not sure about one or two specific things, then I'll call them up as some of the SEs, and I say, let's set up 15-20 minutes, and let's discuss this, how to approach this in a better way. So in that, even in those conversations, people like it when you ask for help, and they even during those conversations, then you understand or learn about their mindset, how they approach these things, and and all that. So it's an ongoing process, and you learn with the more that you interact with people internally, more you learn through either they are overlays, or either some other SEs who are in the same covering the different area than you are. So it's all about the interactions and keeping in sync with the other team members.
That means you're doing kind of an informal mentorship or menteeship, right?
Yes, you can say that in a way. Yes. Yeah.
And overlays are sales engineers who are specialized in one or two products or technologies. Is that accurate description?
That is correct. Yes.
Right. So because I know you, I'm going to transition to another topic right now. I know that you came from a world where you sold solutions, but also a lot of it was just commodity, where a customer would ask you, I need 10 ports of this, and you sell them that. And now you're going to a world, or you went to a world that's just solutions, basically. Does that accurately describe where you are today?
Yes, it does in a way. So the previous company that I was working with, they also starting to go into the solution world, because they acquired other companies along the way. But when I started supporting customer, it was definitely that. It was around, okay, I need this particular technology, and I need these many number of ports. That's it. That's all it was. And then from there, even last couple of years in that company, it was more about providing solutions, putting things together, looking at customers' whole design and see how we will fit in it, and how we can fit better than or solve their problems better than the other vendors. And then in this the new role that I'm in, the new company that I'm with, it's all about solutions, because in this area, whoever the vendor they talk to, they will tell them they have a solution, because everybody, you know, look or tell them according to what they have, right? If you have a hammer, you look for a nail, right? So they always tell them that we have a solution, but it depends what makes sense for customers, right? So you have to show customers your own way of doing things than what other vendors are telling them.
Just to clarify that last thought, you're saying that most companies look for, like, if they're selling a hammer, they're looking for someone who owns a nail. Whereas in this new company, you don't have, like, you have a multitude of tools that can be used in different ways and adapted to whatever the customer needs. Is that?
So yeah, a bit different. So what I'm saying is, let's say I'll take an example. Let's say your company X, right, and you have a product to solve a particular problem, right, and then the company Y is solving the same problem, but their approach is a bit different, right?
Yes.
So with the hammer and nail analogy is, if you have that tool, what are you going to tell customer is, if you have a hammer, you're going to tell customer, hey, we're gonna this is how we can solve your problem with using this hammer, right?
Yep.
So if the other company whose approach might be different, and they will be solving the same problem in a different way, right? So the customer has to understand what those two approaches mean, and then decide according to that. Does he need a hammer or does he need a drill?
Okay.
Right. So yeah. So in the new role that I'm in, we see that all the time. Uh, but a lot of solutions are very unique, very different, and customer, sometimes even customer thinks that they're solving the same problem, but they're not.
And
Does it make sense?
yeah,
Yeah, confused.
let me clarify and correct me if I'm wrong. So let's say the customer has a nail and he wants to like hit the nail into the ground. You provide a hammer. One company A provides a hammer, and company B can provide like a nail gun. So two different ways of doing the same thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
But you, on the other hand, like you can provide a solution to do the nail, the screw, the whatever it is, and you can solve it in different ways for every different situation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
So
so basically you have a broader, like one product that has broader reach that can do a lot more than just nail a gun, nail a nail, I guess,
yeah,
hit a nail.
I'll give you a more realistic example from the technology that we're dealing with today, right? So in the security on the SecOps team today, a lot of these teams they rely on logs. So they're collecting logs from your laptop, collecting logs from from wherever to investigate things or detect things, the bad actors to stop the breaches, right? So
Yep.
now they're doing the same thing. They're doing, their goal is to stop the breaches. But then a company like us comes along and says, hey, we can help you do
Gurpreet, sorry.
analytics on the wire data
Okay.
at the speed of 100 gig of information from that, apply machine learning on it.
Could you
So
repeat the last part because I lost you for like 10 seconds there.
yeah. So then, where did you exactly lost me? So I can start from there.
Well, you said that you can stop the breaches. They want to stop the breaches, and then you come in with a solution or so.
Exactly. So there are a lot of log-based solutions out there, right? Or
Yeah.
some NetFlow-based solutions. So then a company like us comes along and say, hey, we can provide you. We're going to solve the same problem, but our approach is very different because we are going to ingest raw packets and create, extract a lot of metadata from it, which is basically if you're ingesting 100 gigabits per second rate, you're extracting petabytes of information from the packets, right? Or storing, or ingesting petabytes of packets, right? At that rate. So then this technology is really new in uh, the market. So a lot of people doesn't understand this, so they will end up comparing us with the log-based solutions. So the log-based solution is, as an example, is solving the same problem, but they're totally complementary to what we are doing. So does it make sense?
Yeah, so basically solving, like the two of you could be used to solve the same, well, in conjunction, could be used in conjunction to solve the same problem, right?
Exactly.
All right, so I guess where I want to take it is, what is the role of the SE in commodity sale versus solution selling? Like, why is there a need for an SE if all the customer does is tell you, hey, I want this technology, I want 10 ports?
Yeah. So the in that area, the need of SE is to provide them, at least what I believe is to provide guidance on how to do things. For example, the company I came from, it used to had a testing, so need to guide the customer how to actually test that technology they want to test, but they sometimes they might not have test plan depending who you talk to, right? They might not have test plan. They might not have. They might know how to test this new technology. So that's where SE really comes in that area. Uh, so in the solution side, SE comes in when they see what the problem the customer is trying to solve. So and then SE's job is to actually explain them how how this particular solution can help them solve that problem.
Let me repeat that and see if I got that straight. Even if you're selling a commodity sale, if a customer tells you I need 10 ports of X or 10 ports of Y, the SE's role comes probably before that in terms of consulting on what they should be doing in the first place in terms of like depends on what they're selling. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, so of course, I mean, definitely. I mean, the role it could be both ways. So I've worked with customers who exactly knew how many number of ports they need, and all that. And at the same time, it could be the case where customer doesn't know anything. They just know, okay, I need to validate this particular technology, and then you are the the advisor, if you will, that to actually tell that and what they will exactly need.
Okay, so here's my experience because I've also sold both in part of my job. Uh, the customer wants 10 ports of X to do something, but from my experience, a lot of companies have like 15,000 different types of port X, and your consultation comes in to see what they need to use it for in terms of like in let's say testing. You want to test scalability, you want to test bandwidth, what rates, even in networking, you want to like how much how much traffic do you want to pump through this, or how many routing protocols you want to run through it. So that's where the SE comes in, because from my experience, a lot of sales guys do not understand what those are. Does that sound?
Yeah, no, that sounds accurate, right? As I was saying, what I have seen totally depends on the customer. If customer has been using your solution and they just need few more ports, then of course, I mean, they probably know what they need, and of course you're still in touch with them to understand their requirements and all that. um, but most of the time they know what they need if they're already using your solution. But if it's a new customer, then of course it's a full, you need to start from the day one to understand their requirement, and then advise them what will make sense for them. And at the same time you're thinking, I need to advise them something which is not out of their budget, or which is so if they need Honda, I'm not advising them to buy a Corvette, right? So yeah, of course all of those things come into play when you're starting with a customer who's a new customer or a potential customer, or who's testing a brand new technology which they never tested before. So absolutely.
The last time we chatted, you and I started thinking about this because we knew this topic was coming up, and I kind of equated commodity sale to people who want to buy laptops. Like they want a laptop to do graphic design, or to play video games, or to do this, or to do that. And where the SE comes in is to tell them which laptop will actually work for them.
Yeah, you can say that. You can say that. I think it's, in a way, it's a laptop, but I like the analogy that somebody else gave me. It's that it's more like in that particular area where I was, it was more like selling a sniper rifle. You go in and customer tells you, hey, this is the target I want to shoot, and then you tell them, hey, I have these scopes, but out of these scopes, I think this one will be better because it can give you this kind of zoom.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, so it's more like that. And then on the solution side, it is very different. You're not selling a very specialized uh, sniper rifle, but you're actually trying to see how you can solve the real world problems.
Yeah, they might need a sniper rifle, a handgun, a grenade, a bunch of stuff that works together.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That is correct. Yeah.
I just came up with that on the spot.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I'm tooting my own horn today too much. All right. So when you're doing solution sales, or even commodity sales for that matter, is there and now you have a proof of concept that you need to do with a customer. Is there a point where like the sales guy hands it off to you and then you do the POC and then hand it back to him, or are you working together? How does that work?
Yeah, so I think it depends who you talk to, but me personally, I believe you and sales guy need to stay in sync, right? On what's going on in the POC, so he understands and he knows it. Again, as a partner, I talk to my sales guy pretty much few times every day on different things, different customers, because there's so many things going on. So yeah, I keep him involved, informed. In other words, during the POC, that what's going on. If are we missing something? Is this or is everything going well as expected? So all of those things for sure.
So there is no handoff. You're working together the entire time throughout
Yeah,
the POC.
exactly. And then if we have during the POCs, if we have meetings, then he on-site meetings or remote meetings, sometimes he will join as well, just to listen in, or to just to go with me on site while I'm in the meeting with the technical folks. He can go see some of the VPs or some of the other guys that he can meet. So kind of piggyback on my meeting to actually create relationships with the business people.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Because you're basically everybody trusts you, or like they trust you more than they trust him, and if you bring him in, you kind of giving a portion of your trust to him so that he can build those relationships.
Yeah, at the same time, he's probably not talking to the same guys. He's not trying to influence the technical guys in any way. So he knows what his uh, you know role is, or what his limits are. So he's not trying to influence the technical guys in any ways. If he's in a meeting, he's not meeting anyone. So he's just sitting on the side, doing his thing, not even interfering what's going on, pretty much. But he's more inclined to meet the directors, the people who will pretty much once the POC is successful, who will make the purchase decisions.
Before you get to the POC, are you involved in the discovery phase?
Yes, I usually depends who the customer is. If I'm busy, I try to delay. But if it is a big enterprise that we really want to have discussions with, I will definitely get involved in the phase. I actually want to be involved there.
And have you ever done discovery via email, or is it all in person or on site, like all over the phone or on site?
Mostly over the phone, on site, not very quite often. We actually recently had a customer saying, "Hey, can you come in for lunch and learn?" So we're like, "What?" So we actually had to set up a call with them to actually understand what their requirement was before we actually go and show them whatever solution can do for them, right?
Right. Yeah.
So the understanding that is more important. You can go in blindly and start showing what you have. You need to understand what exactly they need, because the thing is, I mean, most of them they're not going to pay attention to things that are not relevant to them, right? So absolutely, mostly discovery call is over a phone, and then if we have to go in for a meeting, we will.
So the customer who asked you to do the lunch and learn, you didn't have any information about what they are looking for.
That is correct. Yeah, it was a strange. It was a very strange. I guess a very corner case, if you will.
In that situation, like a lot of junior SEs just starting out, kind of jump on it, and they want to go do a lunch and learn without any information. Other experienced SEs don't want to do that for the reasons that you explained. How do you let the customer know gently that it's in their best interest that we don't do that right now?
No, I one of the things I usually do, I'll be very very straightforward with them. I said, let's get on a call so I understand who the audience will be and what is important for them, because I will tell them that I don't want to bore the people in the lunch and learn, showing them the things which are not even relevant to them. So I'll be usually most of the time I'll be very straight with them, and they appreciate that, and then they will get on the call.
Are you telling me that honesty actually works?
It does. I mean, as an SE, if you're not, then because if you're not sincere, if you're not straight, then yeah, it's not a long-term game then.
Yeah. Well, in the end, we're doing things like to benefit the customer as much as we do things to benefit our company, because it's usually mutually well, they're the same thing. If
Yep.
the customer's happy, my company's happy. If the customer is buying, if I'm just giving away stuff, then maybe not so happy. My company's not so happy.
Absolutely, Ramsey. And at the same time, they know why you're there, right? They know why you're there. What's your goal? They know what's their goal, right? So you can try to you know put a different face, but they will, if you are trying to, if you're not sincere with them, if you're not working with them in a sincere way, then they will know, right? As a human being, I can look at your body language, and I can get an idea what Ramsey is thinking.
Yeah. Oh man, I have so many questions about body language, but we'll leave that to another session, because I think it is time to move on to the not so fire round.
Okay.
Did that sound dramatic?
Yeah, that does. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I'm gonna record that and use that every time then. All right, so I was told that the question about, I don't know if you've heard the not so fire round, but the question about the notebook and the pen, or essential tools that SEs should be using, is not a good question. So I'm gonna skip that.
Okay.
I'm gonna replace it by: is there a sales engineering book or resource that you've enjoyed?
Yeah. So it's a good question. So I like. I'll give you a quick background, so people relate to it. When I started as a SE, I was not a person who will read a lot of books. I was not a person who will read a lot of things on the internet. 3 years ago, I made a change. I made a decision that I need to do that. So since then, I read a lot of books, not on the technical CCI books. I don't want to read that, but mostly personal development books that can help me to understand, as talking about body language, right? If somebody's sitting in a certain way, I'll try to understand what his mindset is. He defensive? Is he open to listen to me? All of those things, right? So I started reading a lot of books in that area, so it's just a lot of fun. I really enjoy. Some of the books that I will definitely recommend to any of the SE friends out there will be Start With Why. So especially if you're selling, doing a solution sales, I think this book is really good. Especially also, when people are looking at, internal cultures of their organization, how they're doing, and what is their the core business is, right? It really helps. That's one book. And the second book that I will definitely recommend, my SE friends out there, will be Mindset. That's from Dr. Carol Dweck. She did a great job, and even a lot of people out there appreciate what she did, her work. And yeah, that's a really good book to read, to understand, to the normal, how our brain works, how different people take different things in different way.
Nice.
These are the couple of books. Yeah.
Okay, I've never read. I've heard of Start With Why. I've never heard of Mindset, and I've never read both. So I'm gonna add them to my reading list now.
Yeah, Mindset. I think you will really enjoy. It's a fascinating. But I'll tell you this. So if you listen to Microsoft CEO's interviews, he actually bring up things from this book, and that's what he's trying to change. That's how he's trying to change the culture internally in Microsoft, according to this book, actually. So it's a really, really good book to actually read.
All right, so it's on the top of the list now. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what changed 3 years ago that made you want to read books?
So what changed was understanding that you're not the smartest guy in the room, and you need to be humble, and need to be continue learning different things. So that mindset, that some few things I don't remember a specific example that made that change, but overall, that understanding came in, and then I started being, open-minded and started reading some of these books, or reading a lot of other resources online as well, to improve myself in any way I could.
Can I tell you a secret?
Absolutely.
Well, it's just between me and you and the 5 people listening. I'm alone in my room right now, and I'm still not the smartest one here. So, take what you will with that. All right. Any tips or tricks for time management and task organization?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good question. So, I'm a person of routine, because actually you can add another book in the line that'll help you to understand that. It's called Power of Habit.
Yes, I've read that one.
You read that one? Enjoyed it?
Yes. Well, it was a audiobook. So,
Audiobook?
yeah,
Okay.
it was very good. Somebody else reading it for me, it was perfect. But yeah, it was very good.
Perfect. Yeah. So I'm a person of routine. I believe in what Charles have written in the book, and so so what I try to do, I try to build a routine so I don't have to think about the things that I should not be thinking about, right? So I can focus on the things which are more important. So my morning, I will try to usually, in my routine, I will try to work out in the morning, and then I will spend some time early morning reading something or watching a video which is something new for me. Let's say I was in a meeting yesterday, and I picked up a new word, and in the morning I will start reading on that, what it is, how people use it, whatever that particular thing is, right? So that that's how I start my usual day, or listening to the news, technology news, not the other news. I don't listen to the other news. I don't pay attention. Uh, so, and then during the day, in the morning, I will try to have meetings which need a lot of brain power, and in the evening, other discussions. But it totally depends. Totally depends, because there are some meetings that you have to take in the morning. Uh, you know, as a part of the whole, as part of your job. But will definitely will, if I can, I will try to arrange them that way.
All right. Last question. What is the best advice you have received as a sales engineer?
So the best advice, as a sales engineer, is that I have received from one of the guys. I think he's my still mentor. We're still in touch. He's actually in Ottawa. So it's pretty much just stay hungry, stay foolish.
Stay hungry, stay foolish?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what that means?
Well, stay hungry as in you want to do more. You want to do more, and stay foolish as in you want to try different things. Is that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, always be hungry to do more than what you have, and stay foolish in a way that if somebody's talking to you about something, their experience, just have your ears open and listen to them sincerely, because uh, you're not the smartest person in the room, in the world. There are a lot of people who have different experiences, and if you want to grow yourself, you should be learning from them.
Perfect. Words of wisdom that are good to end on. Thank you, Jappreet, for coming on. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ramsey, for inviting, and you're doing a really great job. So thank you for that.
Well, it is my pleasure. I am having fun talking to smarter people than me, so I am learning as much as anybody else is from these things. I appreciate that, though. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ramsey.
Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you, Jappreet, for coming on. Thank you guys for listening. And it's amazing. So far on this podcast, not necessarily this episode, but on the podcast through other interviews, we've had a musician, an English literature major, and a university student all get jobs as sales engineers. So if you're looking for a sales engineering job, Just know that there's a way. You can get there. And there are multiple ways. You just have to find your path. I hope you guys are finding the information I'm putting out useful. If you want more information, or if you want to actually help mold where We the SEs is going, I would urge you to sign up to the newsletter. I use these emails to help build the site. For example, I sent out a poll maybe a few weeks ago to my subscribers on what they'd like to see next on We the SEs. I already have the podcast. I do a bi-weekly blog. So the poll was to see, like, hey, do you want a forum? Is a forum something that's useful to you guys, or would you prefer a book club? And there were a couple other options, but the point is that I'm using the sign up, the newsletter sign up, so that I can ask your help to actually build this to something that you would use more often and be helpful to you. I have nothing to sell you today. Maybe down the line, I don't know. But as of today, I got nothing to sell you. I just need your input so we can build this community together. Before we leave, check out the webinar page, wethesalesengineers.com/webinar, to know the time and subject of the next webinar coming up for this month, which is, we're in December 2018. If you're listening to this in the future, just check the webinar page. But it's for this month, it's on December 22nd. And Adam O'Brien, who was on a previous podcast episode, will be the presenter, and he will be talking about presentation setups. And that's something that he really enjoys and loves and wants to share. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for the words of encouragement that I keep getting from everybody. It drives me to provide you more value. For the show notes, it's at wethesalesengineers.com/show34. With that, this is Ramsey signing off.